Well, hello. Shad Berry here with Cardiac Collective, joined by my good friend Scott Lees. And you may have already seen this announcement via email, but we are thrilled at the expansion of Cardia and our services and care into Florida at the invitation and in relationship with our friends at Good News Methodist Church down there in Florida, where Scott is the executive pastor. So we wanted to share a little more detail about how that's come about and what that means and the opportunities that that presents. But Scott, thank you for joining me here, and also just for your longstanding relationship and your belief in the work that we're doing at Cardia.
Yeah, just we're just so grateful that you're willing to partner with us and that we get to do this work together in such a beautiful community. But man, I just the work that back when I was previously in Memphis at another church, the work we did with Cardia made such an impact on my life personally, but on the staff as you guys did some workshops with us, and so I just know personally what a difference this makes, and I know in terms of the impact and influence it can have on a larger community, what a difference you guys, the work
Mhm.
you do has made in Memphis, and certainly will make a difference here as well.
I think, yeah, it's been fun to lock arms together. So maybe for a little bit of background, can you talk about um, within y'all's context there in Florida, there's been a population boom, I guess, for lack of a better word. And you had kind of articulated how that maybe has outpaced some of the services of care. Can you share a little bit about what you're seeing there and why you felt like this was a strong felt need?
Sure, absolutely. This is one of the fastest growing communities in all of Florida, which, Florida obviously is exploding with growth. But particularly, this area has exploded when it comes to young families that have moved into the area. And so, one community is developing something like 30,000 homes over the next 20 years. And so folks have not only said, "Hey, we want to come down there for vacation," but we want to move to the area, and with remote, working options, that's incredibly possible. And so we've just seen, a growth in the population from, I think 8 to 10,000 people to over 30, 40,000 people in the last 3 years. And so just the healthcare services are about 10 years behind.
Wow.
And so, obviously, as we all know, with COVID, we started wrestling with our inner selves and facing the different struggles that we have internally, and it kind of awakened us to our need for more heart than just activity. And so the counseling services here are just stressed. They are, redlining. And so at Good News, we really are focused on helping people build their lives on something more true and beautiful than just the beach and the sand. And uh, and so we've been praying for some time as to, how can we make a difference in this community right now, but also that impacts this community for generations to come. And so we quickly realized that mental health was one of those areas. And yeah, and so just through our
Mhm.
connection and partnership with you, thought, hey, maybe this is something that would be a
Mhm.
benefit to Cardia, but ultimately a benefit for this community.
Yeah. Love the vision, and just being around you and watching kind of your vision continue to grow in that area, and seeing how your church, how Good News has invested in that. can you talk about kind of what paved the path for this conversation was the acquisition you guys made of with the vision you have for your campus there. Do you mind sharing a little bit about that and the facilities you guys are developing and
Yeah,
have acquired?
absolutely. We our mission is to help people build their lives on the reality of Jesus.
Mhm.
A lot of people move here thinking they're going to escape their problems because of the sand, and literally when people move here, they build their lives on sand.
It's
But
not
after
figurative at that point.
it's literal, and but after about that 3 months of vacation time, you realize you brought yourself with you, and
Wherever you are, there you are.
there you are, and so people are very open as a result of that. There's kind of an openness to diving deeper into the heart and those issues. Um, and so overarching our mission is to help people build their lives on the reality of Jesus specifically. We believe he is that firm foundation. Um, and then from there, we really want to invest our resources in this 30A area that spans Miramar Beach all the way over to Panama City Beach. And so our vision is to really influence and impact this particular community. And so we were blessed in 1995 when a pastor planted the church, and they were given a significant piece of property on the west side of town over towards Miramar, just about a half a mile, quarter of a mile from where 30A starts in Santa Rosa Beach. And so we've had great facilities, and God's used those to connect to a lot of people. Um, and as we've grown, we've had to expand those facilities. But the other part of the vision is, planting on the east side of town, where a lot of people are moving to. It's an area called Water Sound Origins. And so, we hope eventually to have a location over there.
Mhm.
And then the third part of the vision was to have a ministry center along 331. So essentially, what was happening is we would have the west side covered, the east side covered, and then coming over the bridge, 331. So we could just saturate. We call it Serve SoWal. And SoWal stands for South Walton County, but it also
Mhm.
stands for sowing the seeds of the gospel.
Mhm.
And so the last part of our plan was the ministry center. But the first part of God's plan was the ministry center, because our
Mhm.
neighbors next door to us who they had, it's a 6 bay commercial center, came to us, and as we've run out of parking, they said, hey, we're interested in selling, and we'd like to sell to you, and maybe that could benefit you with the cost, and it would benefit us not having to pay extra fees. And so our lay leadership had the vision for that and said, let's go. And so we purchased that commercial space with the intention that as bays come available, then local ministries could begin moving into those spaces. And so the very first tenant whose rent terms had ended was a doctor's office, and a beautifully decorated doctor's office as you would expect along 30A, with
Very
shiplap
beachy.
walls, very beachy.
Mhm.
And I just walked into that and said, this is a counseling center. And God had been stirring that in our hearts as lay leadership of the church. And so yeah, it just became the perfect space, perfect location. And so the first step towards this vision, overarching vision for Good News, is this ministry center. So
Right. I love that. Yeah, and so that's where Scott engaged us and started talking. You started sharing this vision earlier than it caught up with me. And I love that the origin of this is relational, because that is really the center of the work that we tend to be engaged in, is relationally centered and oriented. And so Cardia really started in a similar fashion in Memphis out of First Evangelical Church, where they kind of incubated us here and gave us an opportunity to establish ourselves. And so there's a lot of parallel in the invitation from you, and really paving that path, and trusting us and trusting our growing relationship to lock arms and serve so well together. And so it's an honor to do that, and with you, and we're extremely excited. Scott also introduced us to the individual who is going to be the site director there, Catherine Story. We just introduced her via email, so she is incredibly qualified, and I've loved getting to know her, and her heartbeat and really her experience is just vast. She has done a lot of things and cared for a lot of people in multiple contexts, and so she shares our heart, Cardia's heart, which is, it's really a multiplicative approach to providing a place where people can receive very effective care for their experiences, what has happened to them and how they respond, but also being a training hospital of sorts where we can multiply effective therapists, effective caregivers, because the process to get licensed in any state is expensive, and it requires a tremendous amount of long suffering, a tremendous amount of courage, a tremendous amount of just commitment. And so Catherine shares the desire to supervise and help participate with therapists who are in the process of becoming licensed, complete that process. So hopefully over time, I think the shared vision is that we can play some small part in multiplying effective caregivers in the South Walton community, alongside of our partnership with you guys. So it's really fascinating, fun story, exciting journey, and I'm really excited to see where things grow, and where they go from here.
Yeah, and let me just say with Catherine, I mean that's just really God's hand at work, and before again we were even having conversations with our neighbors and conversations with you, because Catherine and her husband Steve moved here from Washington State, and she was also licensed in Florida, and
Mhm.
and so
From Walla Walla, never heard of that place before,
Walla
but
Walla, yeah,
she
South.
promises me it's real.
And we've grown here at the church from yeah, we had maybe 1,000 people 3 years ago, and we have 2,600 now, and I just happened to be at one of our dinners that I'm typically not at, and I met Catherine and Steve, and could just tell there was something different about her husband Steve, and just invited him into one of my crews, and we got to know each other, which led to getting to know her. And then all of a sudden you and I start having these conversations, and immediately it was like, okay, God, you were preparing this before we were even dreaming this idea. And like you said, Catherine has just been such a wonderful just church member, just wonderful person in the whole community, and has experience and a heart to develop new counselors and therapists, and lots of experience doing that previously where she was. And
Yeah.
so she moves here going, God, what's my purpose? And how are you going to use me? And here we are.
Yeah, I love it. Well, so for anybody listening, if you know anybody, or if you're in Florida, if you know anybody in Florida, and they're in a place of need, Cardia Collective, KARDIA collective.com. You can visit the website, share that link. People can schedule sessions directly with Catherine or get in touch with us that way. But we're excited to build relationship and community around Cardia and our presence there with other providers, and strengthen that whole network, hopefully, and play like I said, some small part in providing care there. But Scott, thank you for your friendship, and thank you for your trust in us, and for being willing to join forces and try to provide this care, additive care to the work you guys are already doing so well.
Yeah, and really thank you to you guys, because this is a significant need in this community, and I can't think of a group that we would want to partner with more than you guys. And I can't wait for folks that move here to learn to connect and live from their heart, and just know that you guys are going to have an impact not only in Memphis, but now in this community as well. So thank you.
Very exciting. Thank you. Looking forward to coming to visit soon.
Come on down.
All right. Take care.